Okay, it's grade C, series B. First question, write down the prime factors of 64, so I'll start making a factor tree. So 8 times 8 is 64, and this 8 can be split up into 4 times 2. I'm going to stop because 2 is prime, and that 4 splits up into 2 times 2. Similarly for the same. So if I then look at the prime numbers at the end, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 powers of 2. 64 is 2 to the power of 6. We'll find the highest common factor of 48 and 56. And that is the biggest number that will go into both. So I realise they're both in the 8 times table. Divide them both by 8, I end up with 6 and 7. So nothing goes into 6 and 7. So that means the highest common factor of 48 and 56 is 8. We need to find the lowest common multiple of 48 and 56. It's the highest common factor times the rest of the numbers. So it will actually be 8 times 6 times 7, which is 336. If you wanted to do that the other way, you'd start writing out your 56 times table. And you keep going. You do the same for the 48s until you ended up with the same number in both, and it would have been 336. Calculate 202.57 divided by 6.1. What we can't do without calculator is divide by decimals. So if I write it down as a fraction, because I'm dividing by 6.1, if I multiply that by 10 and multiply the top by 10, the size of this answer will be exactly the same size as that answer. The best way of doing that without a calculator is the old bus stop method. How many 61s go into 202? There's 3 of them. So that's 183. Take that away, you get 19. Bring down your 5. How many 61s in 195? There'll be 3 again. Take that away, you've got 12. Bring your 2 down. How many 61s in 122? There's 2 of them. The decimal places match, and that's your answer, 33.2. I don't need to divide it by 10 or multiply it by 10 because I've times the top and bottom both by 10. So therefore the answer will remain unchanged, 33.2. I've got 2 coordinates I need to find out how far apart they are. So if I gave a quick sketch, it actually makes a right angle triangle. But the difference between the 6 and 7 horizontally was 1, and the difference between the 6 and 13 vertically was 7. So actually you've got to use Pythagoras. So 1 squared plus 7 squared would be the hypotenuse squared, which would be 50. Square root of 50, 7.07. Without the sketch, that's quite a difficult question because you won't know how far apart they are horizontally and how far apart they are vertically. Okay, question 5 is about bearings, which you're going to need to sketch a diagram. The bearing from A to B was 37 degrees. So if you measure it from north clockwise 37, you'd end up at B. If you've got to get back, you've got to come all the way around clockwise again from north. Now because this north and this north are parallel, internal angles on parallel lines add up to 180. So that makes 143 degrees this side. But that's not the bearing, because the bearing has to be clockwise. So if I take 143 off 360, I'll end up with 217. So that angle there is 217 degrees, and that is the bearing of A from B. Question 6. Biased dice is rolled. Calculate an estimate for the probability of rolling a 5. Well, I got 99 5s. out of how many rows, I don't know. If I add up 49 ones, 81 twos and so on, I end up with 449 rolls of the dice. Well, if 99 out of 449 landed on a 5, an estimate for the probability is those two divided, it comes out to be 0.22. Factorising a quadratic. Grade C, Series B, Part 2. I'm going to factorise this quadratic, which means I've got to put it into two brackets. Now, if the start is an x squared, that means the start of both of those brackets has to start with an x. So I've got x times x is x squared. The two numbers in the end of the brackets have got to make -8 when you multiply them. Well, numbers that make 8 could be 8 and 1, 4 and 2. I'm not sure which pair to choose, but when I add them up, it has to make 7. Well, is there any way I can make 7 with 4 and 2? No, if I add them up I get 6, if I take them away I get 2, so it's not those two. If I've got 8 and 1 I can make 7, but what I've got to have is 8 take away 1. So that's how I know the -1 goes there and the +8 goes there. So the most important point is we multiply together to make the constant on the end, and they add up together to make the coefficients in the middle. So always start by looking at the number on the end first, and it's helpful if you just write down the factors in pairs and see which pair you can actually end up, say, making 7. In larger shape, scale factor of 2. The scale factor of 2 just means draw it twice as big. So if you do this question in your GCSE and you draw it anywhere on this grid, both sides twice as big, you'll get half the marks. But the key that makes this a grade C is it uses a centre 0, 1, which is none along, 1 up. Now what this operates like is a torch. So this centre shines out a beam that direction, and the actual image ends up as a shadow. Now it's got to be twice as big, but it'll also be twice as far away. So this bottom left hand corner is 3 squares along and 1 up. Well, if I double that and I go 6 squares along and 2 up, not from the origin, from the centre, that's where my triangle starts. And if the base of this triangle is 2, I'll make it 4 squares long. If the height of this triangle is 3, I'll draw it 6, and that's how I know. It's useful to note that that point and that point line up, and that point and that point line up, and the two rays cross at the centre. Find the volume of a prism. If I imagine this to be a box, then the volume of a whole box is length times width times height, which will be 5 times 7 times 12. Okay, it's 420. But because this is a triangle, it's like you've got the box and you've got two halves of it. So if I divided that by 2, I'd have 210 centimeters cubed. And that's the volume, is the amount of space inside. Now if I've got to work out surface area, I need to draw some other pictures. I need to imagine it's made up of a front, which is a triangle, so the area of that triangle. 5 sevens, 35 divided by 2, because it's base times height divided by 2 for the area of the triangle. That's 17.5. There's a front and a back. That corresponds to that area and that one. So that adds up to 35. The top is a big rectangle. which is 12 along and 8.6 high. So the volume, the area rather, of that top will be 12 times 8.6 is 103.2. The bottom is another rectangle. It's still 12, but it's only 7 wide, so that's 7 times 12 is 84. And the side, which is this back piece vertically here, that's still a rectangle. It's definitely 12 along and it's 5 high, so that's 60. So to work out the total surface area, which is covering the whole of it, you will add up 35 plus 103.2 plus 84 plus 60 is 282.2 centimetres squared, because it's a measure of area. Last two questions. Reflect the shape in the line y equals 1. This is the y-axis. There's 1 on the y-axis. So the line y equals 1 is this horizontal line, because it goes through 1 on y. So this triangle is 1 square above it, so that corner will reflect 1 square below. This corner will reflect 1 square below the mirror. And this vertex is 4 squares above, so I'll go 4 squares below, and there's my image. Last question. Sam and Ben share money in the ratio 2 to 4. Ben gets £8 more than Sam. So Sam gets 2 parts and Ben gets 4. But the difference between them is 2 parts. Now we're told that he gets £8 more, so those 2 parts are worth £8. So that means 1 part of this amount is £4. Well, Sam gets 2 parts, so he gets 2 lots of 4, so he gets £8. Ben gets £8 more, so he gets 16. Or you could say Ben gets 4 parts, 4 fours, still 16, so it matches up. You've got to be very careful with ratio, because the money they tell you, you've got to relate it to what part of the ratio. Is it just how much Sam's got? Sometimes it's just